What's up, everyone? We're back with another episode of the Dub Jellison Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest, fellow diabetic Gary Forbes. Gary, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, for sure. Glad we finally got to do this. We had some scheduling
Yeah,
issues.
right. A lot.
We were kind of talking before this about some diabetic stuff, but in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic, us as type 1 diabetics, we're more at risk. So how have you kind of been handling that whole situation, and have you been more cautious than, say, maybe some of your family and friends?
Yeah, I mean, I've done like just the right things to, just not only just to prevent anything from happening to my family and just myself. Like you said, we're at risk just because we have these pre-existing condition. But I'm pretty much like mentally strong, and I exercise every day, so I feel I'm taking care of myself, mentally and physically. So I feel I don't really have a problem, but definitely taking precautions to just help my family and the community, and just don't want to spread anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've kind of been the same way. Like, I know you, like, if you caught it, you'd probably be fine. If I caught it, I'd probably be fine. Just because we're like in shape, we're fairly young, but I mean, you never know with this disease or virus or whatever. It can affect people differently. So I've kind of been taking more steps. Like, my friends always make fun of me. I'm always like, we went out to eat the other day with my friends, and I was wearing a mask walking to the table. They're like, "Duh, why are you wearing a mask? That's so dumb." And I was like, "Hey, I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do." You know what I mean? But how have your numbers been like throughout all this?
My numbers actually been like good during these past couple months there with the COVID. I pretty much eat healthy. I'm a vegetarian. I maybe eat chicken maybe like once every 2 weeks or something, or fish. More so pescatarian, vegetarian. But my numbers usually are no higher than like 180 or something like that. Obviously, you have some days where your sugars just randomly go up without even knowing why. Diabetes affects everyone differently. Some days I will eat the proper things, and my blood sugar is high for some reason. Just 'cause, the hormones and energy and stuff that after I work out. Usually after I work out, my blood sugar is usually higher than what I started with. I have no idea. It's crazy, but I'm trying to figure it out. But I keep like a log of my numbers. I'm not into the CGM machine and Dexcom stuff. I'm pretty much old school. Still test myself and give myself the injections.
Mm-hmm. I recommend it for anyone. I think it's helped me so much. Because it's on your phone. You can just look at it real quick. Say you're driving, you don't want to be low. Say, hey, I'm 150. I'll be fine.
Right.
Stuff like that. And then, you change it like once every 10 days. So it's not like the pump where you have to change it every 3 days. It's kind of a hassle.
Yeah.
And you can take breaks from it as well. What are you saying?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to look into this CGM monitor, just because just the hassle of always having to prick your finger 3, 4, 5 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I'm not too sure about the pump yet, just because just the moving around. It's kind of like a pager on your. But I know it's definitely a beneficial asset for diabetics.
Mm-hmm. I had you probably don't know who it is. His name's Jordan Williams. He's a diabetic MMA fighter, and he said that he didn't want the pump just because of like what he does
Right.
in terms of fighting and stuff like that. But I think the pump helps a lot too.
Right.
It's just, it is kind of scary moving from like just injections to the pump or to the CGM because it's different. But I think at some point they're all going to be connected, so you'll have your meter, your pump, and your continuous glucose monitor all in one thing. So, and then for me, the pump, like I have it on my thigh right now, and I really don't even notice it, but I've had it for 10 years, so.
Gotcha. So you're kind of used to it right now.
So has this pandemic and us being more at risk, has it kind of impacted you mentally at all?
No, man. I feel I've been pretty good. Like I'm just like strong mentally, just because of all the stuff that I've overcome and all the the uphill battles that I face. So I took this time just to like work on stuff. I have some good, great entrepreneur ideas that will be coming up at the end of this year. Still in great shape. Figuring out if I'm going to take a deal overseas, just with everything that's going on with like staying home or anything like that. But no, this really hasn't really affected me. I know that society is affected, but me personally, I took this time to just hone in on things I want to accomplish for the rest of my life. And I've actually gotten my glucose levels down, and I feel better as a diabetic and the things that I want to move forward with.
I think that's a big thing. At the beginning of this pandemic, I was like, hey, I need to start working on myself. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've done the same thing. Like I started doing the podcast more frequently. Like before this pandemic, I did it like once a month maybe. And now I'm getting on dope guests like you and and kind of growing that. But I think a lot of people, they were going to try to improve themselves, and then they kind of fell off the wagon. Right. But it's nice to see that you're still working towards that goal.
Appreciate that.
So I wanted to talk about when you were diagnosed, because me personally, I was diagnosed when I was 3 years old, so I've really known nothing except being a diabetic. But you were diagnosed at 20, and I have a couple of friends that were diagnosed in their late teens and in their 20s. So I was wondering how that kind of impacted you in terms of living 20 years of your life.
Yeah, it was clear. It was really like like an eye-opening and a shocking life experience for me. I was 19 at the time. I was at the University of Virginia. And I mean, I grew up watching. My father's a diabetic. I never met my grandfather, but he passed away from diabetes. And I always watched my father, and with injections and testing his blood sugar. But I was kind of ignorant to it, just not knowing, what diabetes was or how it affected you. And when I got it, I almost thought my basketball career would be over. Like no one's gonna want someone who's a diabetic. Or I was a freshman at the time at the University of Virginia, so I didn't know if anybody else playing college basketball had diabetes. But that and what's crazy is I have like a phobia of needles. So I remember the first day I had to take insulin injections. I remember the doctor was trying to teach me how to do it with saline water, and I was just like, no, man. I was asking, is there any other type of way? Can I take some pills or something like that? And I remember the first day I didn't go to class. My first day, I just sat there like crying. I was like, man, I don't want to take this needle. I'm like, super nervous. But it wasn't that bad. I got used to it, as the years went on. But that first month or first week of having that diagnosis was really tough for me, just because I didn't know what my future would hold. But it definitely helped me. I'm actually, I always tell my parents that I'm not upset that I have diabetes, because it's I have a platform to raise awareness and help other people who have who are dealing with this illness, and who don't have anyone else to talk to. I felt one of my mistakes was not being as open with it during my college career, just because people were ignorant to diabetes and what diabetics can still play in the NBA or be a MMA fighter and things like that. So it was a difficult time, just because the society and community didn't know too much about diabetes and how to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I want to talk to you about, was people just not knowing a whole lot about diabetes. Like some of my friends, like I'm in a fraternity at Purdue, and some of those guys still don't know that I'm diabetic, and because I hide it pretty well.
Right.
But like I'll be eating something, and someone's like, one of my friend's parents would be like, oh, you're not supposed to be eating that, you're diabetic or something like that. So like when you were first diagnosed, were like your teammates or your coaches or your friends at Virginia, were they kind of like, what the heck's going on? Like what were their thoughts, and what did they kind of say to you?
So I got diabetes when I was diagnosed 2015. 4. So that's when like people were still doing like the syringes and stuff like that. So it was still weird, like, drawing the syringes and, looking like, I'm taking like drugs or something like
Yeah.
that. Right in the middle. I mean, I never, took insulin during games or anything like that. It was always, before I checked my blood sugar. And it was still like weird to them. They would, everyone, would ask like, what are you doing? Why is your, finger bleeding and stuff like that? Why are you sticking, But like you said, I was very good at hiding it. I would always like go to the bathroom, real quick and, do it, away from people's, eyes and stuff like that. But as the years went on, when I transferred to UMass, my coaches and my teammates were amazing with it. I had a group of good friends that, always watched out for me and always like, made sure I was, my blood sugar was either, great or, at the good level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's really important for diabetics to have those people that know what's going on, and can see the signs if you're going low or going high or whatever the case may be. So in terms of like your diet and just how you live day to day, how did that change from like before you were diagnosed and then to after that?
I was like a terrible eater, like growing up. My parents like cook, great home cooked meals, but just playing basketball and then being on the road in high school, playing high school games or college, just eating like fast food or just eating like the college area food and not necessarily making the proper healthiest choices for for someone who has a family history of diabetes. But I believe I changed my diet maybe 6 years into having diabetes. I was still eating like chicken and fish, and my A1C numbers were pretty good. They were a little bit over 7, but I still wanted to to make a change, and watched a whole bunch of Netflix documentaries on different types of diets and stuff like that, and I made the choice to go like half pescatarian, half vegan, and things like that. And I had a couple of mishaps. I slipped into a diabetic coma one time, and I had a couple of seizures, but I still felt good making that change. It was just maybe I didn't do it in accordance to my body, and diabetes, as you know, affects everyone differently. Like we can wake up and eat the same thing and have totally different blood sugar levels.
Uh-huh.
But I'm really happy with my choice of with change diet. I'm not, a big sugar guy anymore. I used to be that growing up in high school, always eating candies and sugars. And I feel like that probably, accelerated, my rate into, having diabetes in an early age.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely weird how it's kind of hereditary or genetic, how people get it. Like my great grandfather had it, and then it skipped 2 generations, and I got it. So, I mean, hopefully my kid doesn't have it, or my grandkid doesn't have it, but it's inevitable at some point.
Yeah, I have 4 brothers, 1 sister, and none of them have it. So I'm the only one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, it's a weird thing, but I did want to talk to you about kind of the scares that you've had. I had a scare when I was in 7th grade. I'll talk about that in a minute, but kind of talk about what happened with that diabetic coma and the seizures that you had, as much as you're comfortable with. I know it's kind of hard to talk about, but
Yeah, I mean, I was in Argentina at the time, and every time I went overseas, and it's so crazy that they cook their foods so much healthier. Everything is like fresh. There's no hormones and things like that. So I was still taking my same dosage as I was eating American food, which was the problem. I didn't wasn't educated on the on sliding scales of what I'm eating compared to the insulin dosage of the different food intakes. So there was like a couple of nights in a row where I was like, slipping into like low blood sugar levels. I was waking up with like 40s and 30s and stuff like that. But luckily, I would have like Oreos or M&Ms next to my bed, and then just like one morning, um, I just like slipped into a bad, like, diabetic coma. And it was crazy. I was literally, I felt like I was like close to the other side, like the colors and things that I was seeing and the dreams. And then woke up to, paramedics just like, holding me down or trying to like wake me up. And I don't know if anyone's had like diabetic episodes when when you get woken up or getting like, scared like that. People don't, don't necessarily know how to react to you, and you're kind of like in a scare, and you're kind of like trying to like protect yourself, and not necessarily acting, normal to another person's eyes, or whatever. So it was real difficult for, my teammates who, one of my teammates was able to get in my apartment at the time and call paramedics. And I was in the hospital for about like 10 to 13 days. My parents came to see me, and doctors actually told me that basketball was over for me. So I kind of took that as a proving this person wrong, just as I've always done with playing with diabetes. I played at the highest possible level you can with diabetes. So this was just another thing for me to accomplish, or me to overcome. So I didn't really take that as a bad experience. I took it as a learning experience to, all right, I know that this change in my diet made me feel better, and, my energy was great. So now I have to like, figure out the right, way for it to like help my body, produce or be productive at the best way possible.
Mm-hmm. And I personally haven't gone through that severe of a diabetic episode. So when you were in the coma, what all do you remember from that? You said something about like dreams and the colors and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
just remember like just like riding around like on a bike like so fast, and like in a crazy like forest, and I seen like huge trees, like stuff that I never like could imagine. Like it looked like something out of like a cartoon or whatever. And yeah, it was like I was slipping back in and out of consciousness, and I knew I had to get to the fridge. I knew I had juice in the fridge, and I was like, if I could just get to the fridge, like, I'd be okay. But, I was, thank God, my teammates was able to get in my apartment, and, the doctors did a great job. And it was like a tough recovery for me at the time, because I ended up having to be sent home from Argentina. I couldn't finish the season. I had like partial memory loss for like a week, where I didn't remember like, where I went to high school at and stuff like that. So it was like, that was like a really scary episode for me. Which is one of the things that happens when you slip into a seizure or a diabetic coma. But luckily, my mother was there to take care of me, and I was able to rehab great. And last year I played in Vietnam, so I think I basically won that battle of the doctor basically saying that I couldn't I shouldn't play basketball again.
Mm-hmm. Was it just like a general doctor, like at the ER or whatever?
Yeah, it was one of those guys. So just the same way with the doctor. I've had 6 knee surgeries, and 2 major ones. And as being a diabetic, it takes longer for us to heal. And having those 2 major knee surgeries, it took me a long time to heal. Where the doctor said the same thing, like we don't know if you coming back from this these multiple knee surgeries is the best thing. And I did that again too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, screw them. I feel like some general doctors don't have like a very good understanding about diabetes. I mean, they're doing their job, but like they don't know everything that's going on, and they don't. I think you can relate to that in terms of like them saying your basketball career is over, even though you knew it wasn't. I wanted to talk to you about the how many seizures have you had? Because I saw on your Instagram post the other day you were talking about just some of the stuff that you've been through, and I personally never experienced that. But talk a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, I've had about, I think, about 2 or 3 seizures. Just like I said, just eating what I feel is a proper way, and just the different. I had to change my insulin dosage. I used to take 40 units of Lantus at night, which was one of the things that affected me. Waking up in the morning with low blood sugar episodes. So I had to lower that. On my own. Like, I feel that a lot of doctors don't know that diabetes affects everyone differently. So, maybe their general, number of what to take. It's just a broad scale, so it's not necessarily individualized to each person. Like like your moods and hormones affect you differently. That can raise your blood sugar and stuff like that. So it was a trial and error process, and I was able to. I'm at a good good strict diet now, and good routine where I know what affects me. I keep a book log, old school, of writing down like a journal of what I eat, what I'm doing every day, just to see how my body reacts. So it's my body, so I feel like I have to study it and know what's how I feel and what's the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm. So when I was in 7th grade, I had the pump, but I didn't have the CGM yet. And I was at school and my stomach started hurting really bad. And I was like, what the hell? So I went home. I skipped baseball practice. I rode the bus home. And then when I got home, I started throwing up everywhere. And I was like, damn, I got the stomach flu or something like that. So I go and I'm laying in my bed, and my dad was home and he just thought I was sick. So my mom comes in and she was like, what's your blood sugar? And I was like, I don't know. I have the stomach flu. I'm not going to test it where I'm throwing up. And she goes, go test it right now. So I was like, okay. So I don't know about your meter, but mine only went up to 600. So after that, it's just say hi.
Yeah. Mine is the same way. I think mine is mine I think is 600, and after that it's high.
Yeah. So that's what my blood sugar was. So then my mom started freaking out. I ended up being okay, but I kind of related to some of I didn't go unconscious or anything like that, but I started slipping into it a little bit. That kind of opened my eyes to how I need to change my diet and things of that nature as well.
Right. Yeah, I feel like I feel like a lot of diabetics should really just focus more on their diet and exercise, and just stuff like meditation and stuff like that. It really just helps with our hormones. Different stuff affects us differently. Say watching news, or you getting upset at something, it could really change how your body reacts to stuff.
Yeah. So I want to talk about when you got diagnosed and then how you progressed through your basketball career. Did you have any incidents on the court with it? So not serious incidents, but did you go low on the court, or did you go high, and what types of things did you do to prevent that?
No, it's crazy. It's I've never had an episode on the court. I've never missed a game due to diabetes. When I was in college, I always used to have the glucose tablets on the bench if I needed it. Barely ever needed it. I always check my sugars before the game. They're usually in the 120 to 150 range, which was my physician's orders. So I always just kept that going through my entire basketball career. So I never had a issue during games with diabetes. Sometimes practices where I would have to just sit out on the side for maybe a play or two, just to get a quick Powerade or a bar or something like that to get my energy up. Obviously, because practices are longer than games. But with my basketball career now, I never had any low blood sugar instances.
Mm-hmm. When I used to play baseball. I don't anymore, but I mean, I would go low sometimes during the game, and I remember a few times where I'd take Skittles up with me to hit. So I was hitting, and in between pitches, I'd throw a couple Skittles in, and it doesn't really impact the on-court or on-field performance, in my opinion, unless you're negligent with it. Right. But one thing that I know you talked about in the past was how that impacted you when you graduated and you were going into the NBA, how teams might have been kind of scared to draft you just because the uncertainty, and they just don't fully understand it's a serious disease, but it doesn't impact you that much.
Yeah, what's crazy is Adam Morrison had just got drafted 2 years before me. I think he was the third pick. His diabetes obviously was a little bit different than mine. He would, take injections on the bench, and it was publicized on ESPN. And, I more so was hiding it just because I didn't want people to feel that, oh, he has diabetes, so we're not going to take the chance on him. crazy all through pre-draft camp. I got the MVP of Portsmouth camp, which was a camp for seniors, like to see who the best seniors in the country are. Then I went to Orlando pre-draft camp, which is the main camp before the draft, and I led the camp in scoring. And had all these tryouts and workouts with teams. And once my medical records came in, I had a guarantee at 29 from a team. I had a guarantee at 30 and at 37th pick. And once the team seen that I had diabetes, it was kind of we're not going to make this we're not going to invest this amount of money in someone who we don't think is going to last or be beneficial to our company. So I understood their point of it, business wise, but obviously I took it as an insult because I've done everything that was needed to do. I've never missed a game. Got player of the year in college, in my league. I did everything at camps, and it was a difficult. It definitely impacted me a lot because this was like my goal, my dream was to get drafted. But I was able to, pick myself up. Went overseas for 2 years and came back, and I was able to, live out my dream, which was to make the NBA.
Mm-hmm. I saw an article probably 2 months ago now. His name's Garrett Mitchell. He got drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers in the first round of this past year's MLB draft, and he was saying he was talking about how some teams wouldn't draft him because he's diabetic. I mean, he still went in the first round. I forget which pick it was, but I mean, it doesn't really affect you that much unless you're negligent, like I said. But what kind of conversations did you have when you did go to the NBA with the team? It was the Nuggets first, correct?
Yeah. So, great at taking care of me. That was, probably my favorite team, obviously, that I played with. I played with Hall of Famers, Chauncey Billups and Carmelo Anthony and those guys. But the medical staff there was great, man. They were really on top of my diabetes, and they basically helped me. They had, nutritionists and everything that I needed to, to be the best possible, player I could be with diabetes.
Mm-hmm. So how was that first season like playing with guys like you mentioned, Melo and Chauncey? How crazy was that?
Oh man, it's like a dream come true. Like obviously Denver Nuggets were one of my favorite teams, through college and things like that. And to be selected to be playing on that team was a real honor. Like I said, it was a dream come true, and it was just like a great ride that year. Now we didn't obviously finish the season the way we wanted to, lost in the first round of the playoffs, but it was definitely a great experience looking back on, and happy I was able to accomplish one of my dreams.
Mm-hmm. So how do you look back on that time with your 2 seasons in the NBA, and then your couple of stints that you didn't stick on with the team? How do you kind of look back at those experiences?
Well, I definitely feel that after I came back from China when I was with the Brooklyn Nets, if I didn't get my knee surgeries, that's when I first started getting I had 3 major knee surgeries after I was at the Brooklyn Nets, but right before I was with the Brooklyn Nets that summer. I feel like if I didn't do that, I would have been able to play, a lot more years in the NBA. I feel like that rehab time took a lot away from me, just because one, I'm already a diabetic, and then on top of that, having these like knee surgeries, so teams are going to be super hesitant on that, and which was the case. But I'm not really I'm glad that I was able to go overseas and see different parts of the world, different parts of the different places I've never would have probably imagined that I would see. And I met, great people out there. I learned different experiences. Like I said, I learned to eat differently due to, being in these different places. So none of the experiences I really, feel bad about. Like I said, I'm pretty much, glad that I have diabetes because I can, I'm here, talking to you, and, maybe someone can get inspiration from our talk today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So what kind of things are you doing in terms of helping raise awareness or helping like young children that have diabetes or things of that nature?
Well, I had have this foundation that I'm restarting. I had a foundation a couple years ago. My PR, she passed away from cancer, so it was like on hold for a while. We had softball events and bowling events, and I'm going to restart that next summer, depending on how this whole COVID thing goes. But right now, I'm writing a children's book series, which will highlight kids with illnesses such as myself, with diabetes and different things like that. And it's going to be a great comic series, man. It's definitely going to be on some X-Men, Harry Potter level type stuff. So I'm really excited about that. And it's just I feel like I feel like this would be my legacy, because I'll, like I said, raise awareness and just help people with their confidence in having diabetes, because I feel like that affects a lot of diabetics a lot, just feeling out of it or feeling out the loop, and not not being looked at as normal, or feeling like the same as everyone else, or being treated the same. So that's one of my goals, to just enlighten people on people with diabetes can do the same thing you can do, and live the same normal life as you can. It's not nothing to look down upon.
Mm-hmm. So was that kind of your inspiration to start the foundation in the first place?
Yeah, like I just felt like I had a platform, and I've heard so many stories from parents with their kids playing basketball because of seeing me as a diabetic playing in the NBA. And I've had many different talks with people who have felt inspired by my journey and playing in the NBA, and just having the attitude that I have of being diabetic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's like I didn't really look up to anyone when I was younger that were like athletes or celebrities or whoever that were diabetic. The only one that really stuck out to me was Jay Cutler, and that's the only reason why he is because I got the chance to meet him in Indy when he was down here for a doctor's appointment. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's really special what you're doing, trying to get people more involved in terms of diabetes, raising awareness and all that stuff, because it is kind of a lonely road. Because like me personally, I know 3 people that I like talk to regularly that are diabetic, and that's really it. Like I don't know anyone at Purdue who's diabetic and things of that nature. So it is kind of lonely. I don't know if you relate to that in any way.
Yeah, I mean, no one that I knew of in college had diabetes. I was never on teams with anyone who had diabetes. I mean, the only person that I know is my father and my nephew who have the same illness. But as far as someone to talk to regularly, or someone who has the same same kind of stories as me, no. Like you said, it's definitely a lonely road, but I definitely feel like you should take advantage of this podcast and get as many diabetics as possible, and just raise awareness and lose the ignorance in the society of people that diabetics can't do like I said, the same normal things that people without diabetes can do.
Mm-hmm. I think kind of the stigma around diabetes is it's people who are overweight and obese and things of that nature. Like people will be like, "Oh, my grandpa's diabetic. He's like type 2 diabetic as opposed to type 1." So people kind of like lump those together because they just, I mean, I don't really blame them for that. Like I don't hold that against them. They just don't have the knowledge about it. You know what I mean? And so like a lot of my friends always ask me questions and kind of pick my brain about it because they're curious about it, and they say the wrong thing. I'm like, well, actually, it's this. But I mean, as long as people are open to learning about diabetes and all of that, I think that we can make a lot of great strides in terms of just kind of the stigma around it and how people view it from the outside.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna have to wrap this up here pretty soon. But before I let you go, I wanted to ask you a few last questions. What was probably your fondest memory of playing in the NBA? Like, is there one moment that kind of sticks out?
Probably just when George Carl told me I made the team, and all my teammates kind of like jumped on me, because I had a real good training camp that season. I really wasn't supposed to make the team. The Denver Nuggets were looking for a big man at the time because Kenyon Martin was hurt and Birdman was hurt. And I've really just, I made them sign me. I did everything that I could. I went there early. I went to practice early. I stayed late. I went to, I did everything that was in my control, and, I manifested it.
Yeah, for sure. That's super sick. And then I know the NBA is doing the whole bubble thing. So what are your kind of feelings on that? I mean, it's been a huge success so far. They're really the only major sport that's come back besides baseball. And baseball's having a lot of issues in terms of positive COVID tests and all that. So how do you what are your feelings about the whole NBA bubble, this experience, and then who do you have winning the NBA finals?
I mean, the bubble's been great. I mean, they're definitely um, at the forefront of everything, of taking care of the athletes, and no one's come back with any positive tests, and it's doing a great job. Obviously, it's it's a good entertainment for everyone to to be watching. But I feel like this year I might have to go with the Clippers. I think the Clippers are going to win it this year again. I feel like their team is pretty much stacked, and they're playing at a real good level right now. I'm really excited for that first round, Lakers versus Portland. Obviously, my man Melo. I feel like he's going to have a big series that first round. So I don't know who's going to win. That's a toss up for me.
Yeah, I mean, I just because of Kobe passing away, unfortunately, in January, I really want to see the Lakers win it. I think that'd be really special for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I like LeBron. My favorite team's the Knicks, so we suck. So I don't really have a dog in the fight this year, but I would like to see the Lakers win. I think that'd be really special for them, the whole organization.
Right. Yes, I'm glad I got to play against, man, my goat, man, my idol that I looked up to, man. It was that actually that might be my checking into the game, having to guard Kobe Bryant. I had like really good games against Kobe, which was amazing for me, and we beat them a couple of times, and just sad and amazing that I got to play against a legend.
Mm-hmm. When I was going to announce this on the Instagram, I was looking at pictures to try to find a post, and the one I was going to use was you guarding Kobe.
Yeah, that's a good one, man. I have a couple pictures in my room. I'm definitely when I get my house, man, I'm gonna frame, like get it supersized and framed in my basement. So that's definitely one of my greatest memories right there.
Did he ever kind of talk trash to you at all during the games?
A little bit, but nothing too crazy. It was just like just pretty much just getting into the game and stuff like that. And definitely the first time I guarded him, I knew I had to get in the weight room because he's super strong. His footwork was incredible. I mean, he's probably top 2, top 3 in my all-time greatest players.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's a guy that I looked up to. Him and LeBron are kind of my era. Kobe lesser so, but I gotta get going. But thank you so much for doing this. I know we kind of had some issues in terms of scheduling and all that stuff, but I mean, it means a lot to hear you trying to do things for fellow Type 1 diabetics, trying to raise awareness. Whenever you need to spread the word about any of your stuff, just send it my way, and I'll put it out on all my social medias.
No problem, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. Take care of yourself, and hope the best for you, bro.
Yes, for sure. Stay safe.
Man.